Welcome to the Bentley channel. I'm Shmee150 and today we're here in Crewe, England to visit Mulliner to take a look at the assembly process behind the new Bentley Blower continuation. Behind me is in fact one of the 50 original homologation Bentley 4.5 litre blowers, two of which Bentley have in their collection, this car and also the famous Tim Birkin car on which the new continuation series is heavily based. Now Mulliner are responsible for all sorts of different elements of Bentley cars, from offering options for a variety of the models across the range to full bespoke commissions and all the way up towards the exclusive products like Bacalar, Batteur, the continuation series of the Blower and the new Speed 6 continuation as well. Today we're going to find out what goes in to a modern remake of an original 1930s blower. So let's head in to the assembly hall and go and find out. In the workshop at Mulliner, we have the assembly area for the Bentley Blower continuation. Now there are the 12 customer cars plus car 0, the factory prototype if you will, which is here as well, that was used for all of the extensive testing to try and get everything right for this car. And when I say right, it's really quite fascinating what dictates the exact moment on which these are based. The reason for that is that the 4.5 litre blower was introduced in 1929. It was too late that year to go and compete in the 24 hours of Le Mans race, but it did in fact enter in 1930. Now what you have to consider is that from week to week the car was evolving, things were changing, so how do you pick the moment to make the modern recreation? Well, of course, the exact moment of the start of the 1930 24 hours of Le Mans race. Now what you have to consider as well is all the work that's had to go into reverse engineering and understanding the original cars, to 3D scan everything, to try and get all of the details exactly correct, use original techniques, materials, processes, manufacturing styles, everything done as close and true and perfect to the original as absolutely possible. And what a view we have here. As you can see, some of the exposed areas and different parts of this. We'll run down towards the beginning of the assembly line to walk through all of this to understand how you create a Bentley Blower continuation. Now one thing here that stands out is the ash wood frame, as you can see, finished with the Rexine. We'll talk more about that in a moment as well, but let's come right down towards the beginning, towards where it arrives here, and that's with this, the ladder frame. The full process to go from here to the final car is all documented in a series of highly secret guidebooks with all of the information you could possibly imagine. But to create this, it's actually hand-beaten metal. And of course, that means you'll never have the same as a modern tolerance when you're assembling it. So you then take the ladder frame and actually head over to the jig where it receives a slave engine and gearbox to ensure that it's all lined up from the very beginning to be able to continue from there. In fact, if we come straight through towards stage 2 here, you can see the front and rear axles have been installed, as has the fuel tank. And this is one of the very few areas that actually differs from the original car, with some options for customers, some foam fire protection, but also the option of an electronic fuel pump, something that was notoriously difficult for the original Bentley blowers. Talking of the big part of it, the blower, the engine, the 4.5 litre 4-cylinder supercharged engine, the blower that we have here, that produced 242 horsepower, equivalent versus a standard car back then to a modern car running, say, 2,000 horsepower. This could go 138 miles per hour. It is a work of art, assembled, bench tested, of course, and the cars will go through extensive testing before being delivered to customers. But I also want to point out this, the cast magnesium bulkhead, a prime example of trying to use original materials and having to find a solution, because that's not something in frequent production in the modern era for cars, so that's brought into this. As we come through though, this car has received both the grille up front but also the dashboard, and there are some wonderful elements to the dashboard to come and show you through here. Of course, dials and gauges that are very different to a modern car and all created to be true to the originals. To do this has introduced some interesting elements, for example, spotting differences from one original car to the next, but staying true, as I said, to that 1930 Le Mans car. One thing that stands out to me here are the switchgear that you have up top. Those were actually regular household switches taken from a hardware store back at the time because nothing else was easily available, and those have had to be recreated for the new blower continuation. The wheel arch covers are also in place, but at the next stage is where the engine is fired up for the first time. There's still extensive testing for it to undergo, but as well as that, we now have the bodywork. The ash wood frame finished in this material called Rexine, which was used at the time instead of leather as it was more durable, has that plastic-like finish to it. Of course, inside you do have the leather, the seats have horsehair packing, all original materials wherever possible, again used in here. Plus, I want to point out this, the oil drip feed for the supercharger. You had to handle yourself the amount of oil flowing through towards the supercharger. But even at this stage, there's still a fair amount more that needs to be completed before it's a running car ready to head out and undergo some road miles. But all of the equipment that's used to manufacture the different parts are original tools, original tooling. It's amazing to see. Of course, here we've got the engine covers, the screen in place as well. Again, another original color scheme, but plenty more that still needs to go into this. In fact, all of the cars are finished in colors that were used back at the time on the original 4.5 litre blowers. Once assembly is complete, that's when the cars head for testing, and there are a few cars here undergoing accumulation of mileage at a location not too far from here. Of course, these are in a further state. We also have the tonneau cover installed, but what's quite interesting to me is that to drive one of these, you need to adopt a few different driving techniques. For example, your throttle and brake pedal are actually reversed. They are inverted and in the opposite way around. You also have some hand controls, things that you as the driver need to be responsible for in terms of management of the engine, plus you need to double the clutch. And because of all of that, Mulliner actually offer driver training for each of the customers as well in order to fully understand how they need to operate their 4.5 litre blower continuations. It's so exciting to be here with the almost completed cars ready for delivery, but hard to believe this is brand new in the 21st century. Unlike traditional, we could say modern cars, we have the wire wheels, we have the brake on the outside, the different shaped visors, the different meshes, and so many partners have had to be part of this project to recreate original components throughout, to recreate everything in the 21st century to represent that of the original car. We also have a very special opportunity to take a look at the underside, not something you would very regularly be able to see. Quite literally like a time capsule, but all absolutely pristine and of course brand new right now. That is the crazy thing about it all, the new Bentley Blower continuation. Hope you've enjoyed the tour. Thanks for watching.